Halo is back with more than just a remake. But also, we got some really bad news for New World. This and much more in today's episode. We don't know about you, but besides a giant backlog of recent games, we also have a list of classics we missed but always wanted to go back to. One of them is Halo Combat Evolved, which came out first in 2001. Since none of us had an Xbox back in the day, we missed the original. And then the remaster that came to Xbox 360 in 2011. But now, our time, and maybe yours too, has finally come to experience the original story following the Master Chief and the AI Cortana, no matter which platform you're on. Because next year, Halo Campaign Evolved will be released for PC, Xbox Series and PS5. And this isn't just a remaster, it's a full reproduction of the original game's campaign. They not only gave the game a visual overhaul thanks to Unreal Engine 5, but also modernized and redesigned some missions, added new levels, mechanics, weapons and story elements. But the best part is that it will feature 4-player online co-op with full crossplay and cross-progression, as well as 2-player couch co-op on consoles. A highlight of the co-op will definitely be the gameplay around armed vehicles. There's the overhauled Warthog with 4 seats, but you can also try hijacking some enemy rides, including the massive Wraith tank. Campaign Evolved also brings back the collectible system built around skulls, optional gameplay modifiers that can add extra challenge or fun effects, like birthday confetti raining down when you land headshots. Something that will be missing though, in case that's important to you, is the competitive multiplayer mode from the original. But I guess that would be obsolete anyway, since we've got that covered in the free-to-play Halo Infinite from 2021. Another great bit of news is that the original soundtrack has been fully remastered too. As I said, we never got to play the original, but we sure did listen to the OST, because it's an absolute masterpiece. In fact, I listened to it while writing this script and it felt heroic. Have you played the original over the past 25 years? And are you excited to jump back into Halo? Or will this be your first playthrough too? We are pretty excited about it. This week, Amazon announced mass layoffs across many of their divisions, including web services and their gaming branches. They reported that more than 14,000 employees would be laid off in total. Among those are the developers and artists who have been working on New World for the past 4 or more years. On their website, New World had just announced its 4th anniversary, directly followed by the notice that the MMORPG will no longer receive any further updates, as they have reached a point where it is no longer sustainable to continue supporting the game with new content updates. In an FAQ, they clarified that they are not sunsetting the game at this time, and that the service will remain live throughout 2026. So you can still buy the game as well as in-game currency, but Season 10 will be the final content update. It's such a sad and disheartening end for this game, despite all the issues players have had with it since launch. From what we've heard, Season 10, called Night Haven, was actually a strong update that reignited the spark for many players. We definitely didn't expect something like this to happen. What's especially bizarre is that New World was seemingly their most successful MMO. For now, we haven't found any info about the future of other MMOs they publish, like Lost Ark or Throne and Liberty. Amazon stated that they wanted to focus on casual and AI-focused games, like Courtroom Chaos, which features an AI version of rapper Snoop Dogg, and King of Meat, a party game that peaked at just 250 players in its first month. Not to discredit these developers, but Nox and I are really fed up with how the game industry and other tech giants, including YouTube, are pushing harder and harder towards AI. At some point during the research for this episode, we literally found ourselves saying out loud, man, really no one asked for this. We could go on and on about how we feel about this, but it's probably a bottomless pit. And honestly, we care more about how you feel about this shift towards AI deciding what's fun. Anyway, the New World community isn't staying quiet about this either. Players are rightfully upset, and fans have already started petitions to reinstate the New World team and save the MMO. Meanwhile, on X, the CEO of Riot Games said he'd be interested in hiring the laid-off S-tier talents for the upcoming League of Legends MMO. We really hope that happens, and not just for the S-tiers, but for all of those creative and extremely talented people. And while we're already warmed up on the topic of AI, let's continue with another story that hit us like a thunderclap. But this one actually has a happy ending. So don't worry, we haven't turned into a bunch of negative Nancys just yet. So we wanted to talk about MIMESIS, a horror survival game for 4 players that just launched into early access on Steam. You play as a cute little plague doctor with the goal of collecting materials and repairing your train. This train serves as your hub for traveling and surviving monsters, and an enemy called MIMESIS, the core mechanic of the game. And before I get deeper into this one, let me just casually drop another detail about the publisher behind it. Krafton, best known for publishing the upcoming Subnautica 2, as well as PUBG and Inzoi. They recently released a press statement positioning themselves as an AI-first company, which means they will use AI as their primary way to solve problems and increase productivity through automation. Okay, Microsoft did the same, and probably a ton of other companies too. But this AI-first approach is also creeping into gaming more and more, just like we discussed with Amazon earlier. And that brings us back to MIMESIS, because the name-giving threat in this social deduction game isn't another player. It's an AI. According to the devs, it can perfectly imitate your teammates. You're required to use a headset with a microphone to play, and the game will supposedly copy your every move and voice. So that had us a little alarmed. A game that learns to imitate how you speak, down to your exact tone and everything. Challenge accepted. We went digging through the terms of service and privacy policy. And turns out, they are just not great at phrasing harmless features in a way that doesn't sound deeply suspicious. Because what's actually happening isn't a generative AI model being trained. The game simply records short snippets of your real voice chat and replays them to your friends once they are alone. According to the devs, those recordings are stored locally and are never uploaded. So there's your somewhat happy ending, just like I promised at the start. But what do you think? Is this cool or creepy in all the wrong ways? The game currently sits at mostly positive on Steam, and fans of similar horror co-op games seem to be enjoying it so far. If you have watched the complete Solasta 2 livestream, we are impressed. That's some dedication. But if you missed it, here's a quick rundown of what to expect when the game launches into early access in early 2026. The team itself describes Solasta 2 as inspired by Baldur's Gate 3, but not in competition with it. Its focus lies more on tabletop authenticity than on cinematic storytelling. Although the studio aims to deliver a 40+ hour campaign at full release. The game follows a group of 4 adventurers navigating a world built around a procedural hex-based map. Each hex can hide encounters, random events, or even new landmarks, making every journey unpredictable. Exploration is measured in daily travel points, with 8 per day that can split between safe movement and risky forced marches with potentially bigger rewards, or the occasional encounter with a cave troll depending on your luck. The combat remains turn-based and grid-driven, but with more in-depth tactics. You can expect things like weapon masteries, contextual actions, and expanded vertical combat for more control, or chaos, in every fight. Your party can be joined by up to 2 companions, forming a full 6-member party. Multiclassing and respeccing are both supported from the start, with 6 classes and 4 races on launch of Early Access. More classes, subclasses, and content will be added further down the line. This also applies to co-op and modding tools, which won't be available at launch, but will be added later during Early Access. So fingers crossed that won't take them too long. And that wraps up this week's episode. Next week, we'll be taking a short break, our first small holiday since February, so there won't be a new episode then. Unfortunately, gaming news isn't something that we can really pre-record. Anyways, we hope you enjoyed this one though, and we'll be back the week after with more gaming updates. Have fun in co-op with your favorite people, and we'll see you then.